Well, welcome to Rick Cooper, the most amazing coach that I've met very recently. And we have had the most brilliant connection, haven't we, Rick? I do feel like I've known you for ages and ages. And our only problem is that we talk too much, don't we?
I love it. Thanks, man, for lovely introduction. Yes, we could literally go on for ages.
Yeah, and trying to pick a subject for us just to focus on for half an hour is really quite hard. So I'm sure there'll be lots more in our series of talking to you about stuff today. But today we are focusing on, and I'm going to let you do the intro because you know exactly what you're going to say.
I'd love today to give some nuggets on mindset, how we create leverage around value-driven goals, how our environment is everything that affects our behavior, how we see ourselves, the people we're around, what we're paying attention to, and how that affects our meaning towards ourselves and our goals.
Fantastic, fantastic. And people don't think about they're not mindful enough, are they? We get so wrapped up in our day, so busy, that it's really good to take this time out. And even if it's just watching this video for half an hour, to take that time out and think about yourself and be a bit more mindful about how you structure your day and your life really going forward.
I 100% agree with that, man. I think that we unconsciously just keep doing. I think men used to be brilliant at this. I think women in the last 30 years, and rightfully so, equal ops. We've got all of us now as a population who are very much doing, chasing, achieving. And I think what comes to that is that unconsciously we don't stop to pause and go, hold on a minute, but what meaning does this have for my life? And then some of us feel overwhelmed and anxiety around that pursuit. And it's a case of just, hold on a minute, a lot of that comes from pursuing something that isn't innately a value driver. And I always talk about leverage around that. That people that achieve generally have a leverage point of an emotional attachment to something.
Yeah, and ironically, it's the people who are the busiest who probably need this the most, don't they? But it's so easy for us all to think, I'm too busy, I can't even think about these things, I haven't got time. And when you're overwhelmed, that's when you need this the most.
Yeah, I think it brings you back to your center, it brings you back to neutral. And the irony is we say it there and go, we haven't got time for it. Well, ironically, if you spent half an hour listening to this, you're going to speed up your process anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, so where do we start, Rick?
You know what, I think it'd be brilliant, man, if we start on mindset.
Yeah.
I think that if we share the mindset, just a set of beliefs and assumptions that affect our behavior, which affects our lives and the daily outcomes we experience. A lot of people will refer to life happens to us, and it just never does. Life's constantly happening for us. That we go through tough times, and I think our go-to is, oh, this happened to me, or that happened to me, because it's a negative response to something that doesn't go our way. Well, actually, if we reframe that, it's happening for us. It's a learning curve for us. We get presented with people, situation, experiences in our life where we're not free. And I think that if we recognize that, hold on a minute, I'm getting presented with this consistently, and I keep thinking it's happening to me, it just means we're not free somewhere in our back dialogue with ourselves. So I think it's a unique opportunity for us to go, okay, hold on a minute, this is happening for me. Like, what do I need to address? What is it where I need to set myself free, to project myself, to enable me to be around different people and have different experiences where I don't feel like this keeps happening to me?
And do you know what I love about mindset is you can change it in an instance. If say your goal is to become healthier, fitter, lose weight, be a more productive employer, boss, whoever, they all take time, don't they? But you sometimes, and you've had this with clients, I know, one sentence changes everything. And as you say, it frees you up to go forward.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think, something I use all the time is we have to take full ownership of ourselves, full ownership of everything. I think as soon as we realize, accept, and take ownership of where we are right now, the results we've got in our life up to now, whether that's emotionally, professionally, personally, the people we're around, the feelings that the environment we're in or the people we're around, is our choice.
Yeah.
We've chosen at some point to be in this situation, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, whatever it is. And it's taking extreme ownership of, this is all my doing. whether that's, whether that is, yes, this is all my doing, like I've got all this, brilliant, or whether this is, I'm in BS street and just going, do you know what? I got me here, I can get me out. And the past is the past. What happened, happened. It couldn't have happened any other way because it didn't.
No.
And we have the ability right now to create again. Like the next
Do you
minute.
think that holds most people back? Is that the biggest thing that holds most people back, is you are blaming other people, or you think that circumstances aren't something that can be changed by you?
I think that what holds people back is that we have a past pain that informs our future fear. And whether we recognize what it is, whether it could be, I'm scared of being alone, I'm scared of not having enough, I'm scared of, I've got a scarcity mindset around money, around people, around friendships. I generally believe the biggest thing that holds people back is a past pain is informing a future fear that doesn't exist.
So how do people find out what their past pain is?
You get people like us, man, on board.
You actually take the time to think about it.
Yeah, you do. You do have to take the time to think about it. I think you have to sit in the pain. And I think a lot of us get into the pain point. And what we do is we can go the drastic end of the scale, where we find some sort of addiction, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's becoming a workaholic, whether it's porn, whatever it is. We get into a state of pain where we could be on our own for 2 hours at home, like it's been the last 18 months. And it's like, oh, I need to be busy because right now I've got nothing to do. So you quickly go and do something. It could be drinking copious amounts of coffee that then produce even more anxiety. And I think what it is you feel the pain, you look for distraction, which can be addiction. It goes around into, I get instant gratification and feel good. That wears off, and then it comes back to the pain. So I'm always like, let's short circuit it. Just sit next to the pain. We're there anyway. Let's just sit in it a bit longer and just start to be like, okay, what's triggered me? Where has that come from? What can I recognize about my past experiences, maybe in my childhood, where I'm able to start to navigate my way backwards to see, oh, wow, that came from there, which has led to this, which has led to that. I want to be free of this now. Now I have a greater understanding. I can start to let go.
And it is the busy lives we lead. And I think this is a really good time to talk about stuff like this, because we realise that life can change quite drastically. We all had the situation of COVID that did change us a lot, didn't it? And I love the fact that people are a lot more open-minded now about new ideas and much more aware of their own mental health and their mindset and what has made them struggle over the last 18 months. It's quite a good time to be talking about this, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, we spoke earlier, man, the world, sort of everything we knew got turned upside down. And in a way, I think it's a beautiful thing, because we get into that state where, like I said, past pain informs future fear, but now we've got new experiences to call upon. And that's all we ever do, is we always call upon our subconscious brain to call upon an experience. An experience attaches a feeling. The feeling attaches itself to an emotion inside us, which informs how we make decisions. And I think what's been beautiful the last 18 months is that actually we can look back and go, oh, actually, I've just formed a lot of new experiences and a lot of new subconscious reference points that can help me dictate my future. I mean, you know me, I'm always very much like, the glass is always half full. And I know some people may think, oh, that's really easy said and done, Rick, like it's been a rough 18 months, and I think it has for all of us in some degree. We've either had to pivot and grab what's happened, or we sit and be like, this is really hard for me. And when we think like that, it drags us down into that hole.
Well, and you haven't had the easiest of lives, Rick. So it's not like everything's just been tickety-boo and you've just been positive all the time. You are living proof that, if you think positively, if you take responsibility and you take ownership of something and be mindful about the way forward, and as you say, sitting with the pain and then moving forward, that can be done, can't it?
Yeah, massively. And I think that really leads on to how, when we talk and stuff, man, it's like, how do you do that? And I think what it is that when we try to be positive and really get ourselves going after something that's we're passionate about and purposeful and mean and has a deep meaning, we have to create leverage. I know that's been true for me, is that most times, very general, we struggle to do things for ourselves. Like if we had nobody around us, that it was literally just us, it is a struggle sometimes to do
Yeah.
things for ourselves, because ego lends itself to start something, but rarely will it finish it, because the ego is easily deterred, it's easily knocked down, it seeks instant gratification much of the time to allow itself to be fed. So how do we create that endless kind of food to get us going to the goals? Well, how do we create leverage? And I always think to myself, ask yourself this question: who needs me to step up and take charge? Who do I represent? What do I stand for? Also, what do I stand against? And I think that what we need to do is, when we set goals, a lot of people set goals, man, and they get halfway there, and the ego gets knocked, it gets difficult, and we let go, we drop off, it takes longer. And it's because we haven't got a deep intrinsic why. A lot of time the goal isn't value driven, like we have intrinsic innate values that should be in line with our decision making process. So when I use a very deep questioning process around this, like my 5 deepest values are my family, my coaching, being in nature, my health and wellness, and self-development. So every decision I make in anything has to be in line with them. And then you have your other values, like I value authenticity, honesty, transparency, empathy, compassion, driven people. So then you start to bring all them into place. Like, okay, if I'm going to go for something, I have to be very clear that it falls in line with what I value. And I think once we've got that deep intrinsic why, we're able to attach an emotional meaning to our intention and our end goals, which allows us to stay, or more likely to stay on the journey and complete what it is we set out to do. I think people need to start small. Sorry, man. Is that many people, especially now coming out of COVID, it's all like, it's a bit like going to the pub. The doors open and we're like, yeah, we're going to go for it. And we burn ourselves out. We go hell for leather every weekend because we've been so.
Was that what I was telling you earlier?
You know what I mean? It's just like we go hell out, hell for leather, and we socialise in as many opportunities as we can get. The trouble is we burn out. And it's exactly the same with goals, is that we have to sit there and be a bit level-headed and go, do you know what? Now we're free again and we've come out of COVID. Let's not get too excitable and set big goals. Let's look at the day one. I refer, all my clients get this message every Monday morning. What's the intention for the week? So by next Sunday evening, what needs to happen this week? What do you need to do to make it a success? And then you bring it back again into daily. So what needs to happen today before I go to bed for me to feel like today was a success? And it's just setting them small goals that create momentum to the bigger one.
Yeah. And none of it is rocket science, is it? But I think when you're saying about, having your really deep why, that is the key, because a lot of people don't think about that, and they start down a goal and then they lose momentum, then they don't do it, and then they pile a whole lot of judgment on themselves about they're useless, they've got no willpower, or I'm always going to be like this is just how it is, instead of actually looking at themselves objectively and not with the judgment. We judge, I think, on the whole, most people judge themselves much more harshly than they judge other people.
100%, man. And I tell you, this is really interesting, because I was saying to you what I'm learning recently, and that brings me brilliant to this. Last week, I was being taught how we find it really easy to sell somebody else.
Yes.
But really hard to sell ourselves. And it is the same with judgment, is that we find it really easy to judge ourselves, but not so much to judge others.
Yeah, and I suppose that also means we can see the good in others much better than we can see the good in ourselves.
Yeah. So we deliberately put our hands over our eyes to not have to see it for ourselves.
Do you think the British are worse at this?
I 100% believe that. Yeah, 100%.
And what about men and women? Because I know that you coach men predominantly, that is your speciality. So what's the difference between men and women as far as that's concerned?
Outlook. I really believe outlook. God, this could be easily another workshop on its own.
Okay, I'll write it down on my list of things that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, you could, definitely. This would be a long one as well. Men I definitely find there's a big difference in outlook. Men are very much doing, and it's never enough. And the more years they've kept doing, they push down. And I work with a lot of men that have got everything: the cars, the house, the family. And they always say to you, Rick, I'm just not fulfilled. I just do feel a bit dead inside. I don't feel alive. I don't feel adventurous. And we have to go through that path of re-dissecting where all these beliefs have come from, why they follow the path they have, what they want in the future. Whereas women come to me and they're like, Rick, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm full of passion, I'm full of purpose. Can you just, work with me to unravel anything where I'm not free so I can project myself into the future? I mean, there's a lot we could go into for ages, man, but there's a lot around the repression of the men's psyche for so many years since the Industrial Revolution, whereas women are 20 to 30 years in of adopting that action taker mindset that men have. And at the moment, I mean, I've got my own view on this, but I do believe the next 30 years, we're going to see women be in a place that men are right now, where mental health is taking a bashing, where they're losing their identity, like they're not too sure who intrinsically they truly are. And I think this is coming in with this age where men have spent 70, 80 years since the Industrial Revolution, like going to work, being detached from the family, having to play a role, wearing more masks, going to a workplace where they can't express emotions, it's seen as weakness. And the more longer that goes on, the more we're pressing down. And we don't really know who we are, what we love, and what we really, really, truly want out of life. And I think that women are at this stage where, rightfully so, they're empowered. And I love that. And they want to explore, they want to penetrate. And I say that about men, like men want to penetrate, but on many levels. Like, people think straight away sex, it's not. Men want to penetrate as fatherhood. Men want to penetrate in husbandry. Men want to penetrate in feeling purposeful. And women are right there now. They've got abundance of passion, which is awesome. And I think it's just a difference in outlook. That my view is that so far women, thankfully, haven't, and I'm hoping we're in an age where it doesn't get to that, they haven't had the 70, 80 years of having to play roles. What comes that roles is that this passion, this purpose, this empowerment starts to get pushed down because you get too much in the masculine energy. And you start to neglect that beautiful feminine energy, which is the woman. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, you've got to a point where men are right now, where they feel a bit dull.
And then maybe that brings true equality, doesn't it? Because we don't want it that women turn into something else. It is making the best of both sexes' qualities. Because I do know that women judge themselves, they judge themselves really harshly as well. And over however many last 30, 40, 50 years, the roles changed a lot. That you want to be the best mum you can be, you want to be the best businesswoman you can be, and fulfill all those roles. And we know that that's such a hard thing to do. And it comes back to what we're saying is being aware of your mindset, being aware of you, what works for you. And the mindset is the core, isn't it? Because even if times are hard, if you know how to get yourself back to the right place, that's the important bit, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. And I think what that comes down to is that we all know what to do, we're just not doing it. And I think that it's a common thing, I think, of a lot of us. I say us, I've experienced it. I'm sure you have, man, is we tell ourselves stories. I don't know enough. I'm not good enough at that. And all that does, it leads us to more frustration and a bit of overwhelm and feeling stuck. When really, all it really is, this will sound harsh, people don't do something because they're not in enough pain to take action.
Yeah.
And it's enough pain around something that we value. And I think that we have perceived voids, positive things or negative things. We all have voids in life we want to fill. I mean, my biggest void was I never had a male leader. Like my father was not present. I had a toxic uncle. Like, there was no one around me, men-wise, that were leading me as a teenager. They weren't stable for me. They never showed me the real way. Hence why I've got to 40 and I've been harnessing for the last 20 years, being a leader, whether it being captain, a professional rugby team or whatever it is, being in charge of a fire station. I cultivated leadership in me because it was a void. And I used that void to be positively project myself into the world. And I think that's what it is for anybody, is that when we know what we value and what the void is, it's understanding that we're in enough pain around that to then take action, because it's in line with our values.
Yeah. And I think maybe people identify the pain. It's a bit like, I want to lose weight or whatever, but what is really causing the pain? And if getting to that bottom is the key, isn't it? Because we all know what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to walk around more and eat less. That's That's what we know, that we don't need anyone to tell us that. But we, as you say, we tell us the stories surrounding ourselves rather than getting to the core. So how can people, you know, obviously they can get an amazing coach. That would be a nice, easy way, because it is, you know, sometimes we do need help, you know. And I was talking to somebody at the weekend and saying, you know, it's a bit, you know, we are behind the times in England. America's sort of 30 years ahead of us as far as having a therapist is a normal everyday thing. You don't have to have a trauma to talk to a therapist or a coach or anybody like that. So we're a little bit behind that. So other than getting a coach, what are sort of some good like starting points for people that they could take away from this week that makes them starting down that road of being more aware of their mindset?
I think, like what you said, starting down the right road about being aware. I'm a big fan of this. It's something I used to struggle with, but not anymore. Is I think to start to journal. I know it's very commonly put out there, and people say, "Oh, journaling," but I mean, I was always skeptical about that. And it wasn't until that someone said to me, "Give yourself 10 minutes every evening. Just all you need is 10 minutes." And I was like, oh, "Okay." And that's how I would suggest to anybody: put aside that 10 minutes, stop watching the crap on TV, give yourself the 10 minutes, and just, even if you're stuck and you're thinking, "I don't know what to write exactly that." I've done that many a time where I'm like, I've got nothing to write, and I start just writing it out. I've got nothing to write. I'm sitting in the living room, I'm looking out the window, looking for ideas, and before you know it, you're away. I did this the other Sunday where I was like, 10 minutes. I started off, I'm stuck. Before I knew it, that was at 6:30. I didn't finish till 10:15. And I 7 pages of journaling.
That's a lot of journaling.
Yeah, but just things were just coming up and coming out. But my biggest thing as well is, don't journal just on the bad days. Success leaves clues. All right. So what people do is they journal when they feel like crap, when they feel stuck, when they're looking for inspiration. Journal on the good as well, because life's all about reference points. Whether it's emotion, we attach everything we need as humans. We feeling chase. Everything we do is because we're chasing a feeling. So when we have a good day, it's important to reference back when you have a shit one and say, okay, who was I around? What did I do? What did I eat? What were my thoughts that day? Where did I go? And it's important then to reference back on that journal and go, okay, this is how I need to get myself back into alignment.
And do you know what I think is amazing about journaling is you are literally talking to your subconscious. And we know as coaches that basically your subconscious is in charge of about 80% of what you do. So to me, I want to be more in control of what is going on in my subconscious. I want to tell it the stories that I want it to believe, and it can't differentiate between truth and fiction. So telling it what it should believe rather than the stories that external people tell it. And I journaled recently a lot more than I have done because of various things going on in my life. And again, I'd sit down and think, I haven't got anything to write. I don't really want to write anything. And knowing that no one's going to read it and that it really doesn't matter what you write. And suddenly your subconscious is talking to you, and it's like an absolute fast track to your subconscious mind of what's going on that you've just taken the time to access. And it's amazing.
It is. It's very common for people to talk about it. They're very underused.
Yeah.
It's a bit like,
I mean, I'm a massive stationery freak, so I love journaling. And I think if we don't journal, we might forget how to write as well, because we don't do a lot of writing anymore.
Yeah. 100%.
So what's another tip? So being aware, journaling, what's another tip, do you think?
Being really brutally honest with yourself. I think that if you can start your day in gratitude, but also ask yourself a couple of really brutally honest questions. Gratitude is a big thing for me personally. 3 things you're intrinsically grateful for. And you start off with the big things that are obvious, and as time goes on, you get into that deep sense of, I'm really grateful that I'm in a comfy double bed when millions and billions of people around the world don't have that. No. I'm grateful to have a tap that supplies me with fresh water. I think that helps you get really, really centered. And then I always finish the day off with, who do I want to become today? And what am I going to do to enable that to happen? And I think that's more of an empowerment process. You know, you've got to self-reflect then, and for people then to, you know, to want to adopt that mindset, it's being really clear of yourself that while you've got this journal that no one else is reading, declare the intention for yourself. Who do I want to become? How am I going to make that happen today?
And I love that. And people don't realize how much scientific research has been done on things like that. The gratitude, you know, if you're a bit more, you know, some of the people who are more what I call woo-woo, which I you know, you and I both now know that the woo-woo stuff works quite well, actually. But if you want more, if you're the kind of person who needs more evidence, there is massive science research done on things like gratitude, and the dopamine that it produces in your brain, and reliving, as you said with the journaling, reliving good events that have happened and your successes gives you a second hit of dopamine. And the more dopamine your brain has, the less you need it from the other things like alcohol, drugs, food, overloading work, stuff like that. You know, it has all got a reason behind it, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%, definitely. Yeah, we'll just look for distraction and something that will numb what it is that we're feeling.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that, do we? Oh, Rick, thank you so much. You and I could talk for days and days and days, and maybe one day we will. Maybe we should get ourselves our own TV program.
One day we will. One day we will.
But anyway, thank you so much, Rick, for joining us today. And I know it's been really useful for people to hear what you've had to say. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, man.